I stepped out of work and froze. My parking spot, my carefully claimed space, was empty. No shattered glass, no tow notice, nothing. Just a bare stretch of asphalt where my 2023 Camry had been. The car I had worked 6 years to afford. My chest tightened, my hands trembled, and I circled the lot again, whispering, no, no, no. But the space remained bare. My first new car, the one I had earned, was gone. I called my parents, desperate, hoping for guidance or comfort. Their response didn't just shock me, it cut deeper than theft ever could. This wasn't just a car being taken. It was something far worse. Growing up, I believed being the strong one was a gift. People praised it, calling me reliable, steady, admirable. What no one mentioned was the price. Being strong meant being endlessly taken from, because I wouldn't break loudly enough to matter. I'm Graas. I'm 30 and a software engineer in Denver. On the outside, I'm composed, polished clothes, gentle makeup, calm voice. Inside, I've spent years swallowing pain, frustration, and anger, until it sat heavy in my gut like stones. My family always said Elena needed more. She was delicate, sensitive, dramatic. I watched my parents protect her like she was fragile glass, while I was expected to weather any storm without complaint. Even as teenagers, the favoritism was clear. I worked part-time, scrimped, and saved to buy a used laptop with a struggling fan. The next day, my mother set a brand new MacBook on Elena's bed. She needs it for a project, she said. I nodded, pretending it didn't sting. At 18, Elena borrowed my bike for an hour. 2 days later, I found it abandoned in the rain, rusted chain, torn seat. Don't overreact, my father said. She didn't mean harm. That was when I learned, in our family, intention always outweighed consequence, at least for her. In college, I balanced 2 jobs, late nights, cheap coffee, and relentless self-reliance. When my savings disappeared, I later discovered they'd been used to cover one of Elena's classes she had missed. My mother just smiled. Family helps family. By the time I moved to Denver, I had stopped expecting fairness. Independence was safer than hope. I built my life quietly, managed everything myself, and after 6 years, I finally bought something that felt entirely mine, a silver 2023 Camry. Every payment was a small victory, a personal triumph. When my parents congratulated me, I caught the hint, the subtle disapproval, as if my achievement disrupted some balance. Elena had totaled 3 cars in 5 years. Each replaced immediately. But my car symbolized every sacrifice, every late night, every ounce of pride I'd earned myself. That empty parking spot didn't feel like theft at first, it felt like history repeating itself. I tried to reason it away. Maybe I parked elsewhere. Maybe a tow. Maybe I was imagining it. But walking the lot again, the truth hit me, my car wasn't misplaced. It was gone. Shaky, I called my parents. Mom, I stammered, my car, it's gone. Did someone tow it? Oh honey, relax, she said, casual as if borrowing a sweater. We gave it to Elena. She needs it more. What? My voice broke. You gave it to her? She has a new job. She can't take the bus. You'll manage for a few days. Don't make it a big deal, my mother replied. I froze. The sounds of the parking lot faded into silence. My father added, it's still in the family. You're overreacting. We all share. I whispered, remember college? You used my savings for Elena's class. That wasn't helping me. Silence. Then my mother sighed. Don't bring that up again. She's had a rough time. A rough time, 10 years of it. Memories hit me like blows, Elena crying after her first accident, my parents consoling her, the second car crumpled while texting, father murmuring, don't scold her, the third, wrecked after a night out, mother cooing, she needs support. 3 cars gone. And now mine. My first new car. My hard-earned victory handed over as casually as a pair of shoes. Mom, I said slowly, my voice barely audible. I didn't give anyone permission. You took my key. You took my car. We just borrowed it, she said, insistently. Stop being so selfish. Selfish. The word hit like a knife I'd known my whole life. Something inside me bent, and then broke. All those years of swallowing my feelings, fixing what wasn't mine, pretending their choices didn't wound me, they all caught up at once. Every boundary ignored, every time I was told I was strong enough to endure, but in that moment, I wasn't strong. I was trembling, filled with a quiet, icy rage. Let her have it for a few days, my father said. She'll bring it back. No, I said. She won't. Don't do anything reckless, Graas, my mother snapped. But they had already said the word that revealed everything, family. Family, the shield, the excuse, the leash they assumed I would never sever. For the first time, I saw it clearly. I wasn't the strong one. I was the one they expected to stay silent. Not anymore. I pulled the phone from my ear. My mother's voice, scolding and urgent, continued, but I didn't listen. I hung up and dialed 911. 20 minutes later, Officer Ruiz arrived. The sun was slipping behind Denver's skyline, painting everything in amber. She stepped out of her patrol car, calm and steady, and immediately the ground beneath me felt less unstable. I handed over every piece of evidence, registration, insurance, payment receipts, my hands shaking. All under your name? She asked. Yes. Completely mine. Her expression tightened slightly. No one had permission. No one. Saying it aloud, so clearly, felt like stepping onto new ground. Ruiz photographed the empty spot, checked the security camera, and radioed a bolo. When she said Elena's name into the radio, my chest dropped. Family theft is still theft, she added. The law doesn't bend for emotions. Her words hit harder than the car's disappearance. My life had been built on exceptions, me shrinking so Elena could grow, me absorbing consequences she escaped. For the first time, someone drew a line my family never would. When Ruiz left, the parking lot felt vast, empty, oppressive. I sank onto the curb, staring at the asphalt. This should have felt like victory, but it didn't. Guilt wrapped around me. My parents' voices, calling me selfish and ungrateful, replayed like a relentless tape. Back at my apartment, everything felt strange. I made tea, but it tasted metallic. I sat on the couch in darkness, city lights flickering against the windows, letting myself feel the full weight of what I'd done. Reporting family is messy. It rips at old loyalties and inherited rules. But thinking of Elena behind my wheel, carefree, posting online, my stomach twisted. Not once had she called. Not once had my parents checked if I was okay. Their silence said everything. Later, my phone lit up with unknown numbers, relatives warning me, pressuring me to drop it. Don't ruin the family. Be understanding. Not a single person asked if I had a way home. For the first time, I didn't answer. It wasn't strength, it was pure exhaustion. And in that exhaustion, resolve began to take root. They'd crossed a line. I wasn't erasing it this time. 3 days after filing the report, the call came. My phone buzzed at my desk, sleep-deprived, barely eating, trapped between fear and stubbornness, my breath caught. We located your vehicle, Officer Ruiz said. Your sister was stopped for speeding near Aurora. It's been impounded. Impounded? Relief, anger, dread, all crashed together. And Elena? I asked softly. She's fine. She's being questioned now. Fine. Of course she was. My hands shook as I thanked Ruiz. Guilt surged immediately, Elena in police custody, my parents panicking, relatives ready to vilify me. But underneath it, a colder pulse, justice. Even. That evening, I drove a rental to the impound lot. Behind a chain-link fence, floodlights cut through the dusk. A clerk handed me forms without looking up, Camry, silver, space 34. The concrete echoed under my steps. Heart pounding, I followed the numbers. Then I saw it, my car. But it wasn't pristine. Fast food wrappers, smudged makeup on the passenger door, and energy drinks spilled across the console. Mud caked the mats. The tank nearly empty. My emergency blanket crumpled in the back like trash. 8 hours, and it had been treated like a toy. I whispered, a voice behind me. Officer Ruiz. I turned. She exhaled, eyes scanning the interior. People treat what they haven't earned differently. Carelessness like this? Not unusual. Her tone wasn't judgmental, just brutal truth. I braced myself against the door. The anger that had quietly simmered for years sharpened, finally clear. The bike in the mud at 18. My savings used for her classes. Every invisible sacrifice finally made sense. The laptop placed in her hands like a crown had taught Elena something dangerous, that rules and consequences were optional. But this time, that lesson ended. After the paperwork was finished, Officer Ruiz handed me the keys and lingered a moment. Whatever happens next, she said softly, remember, accountability isn't the same as cruelty. Her words followed me all the way home. A week later, I found myself in a stiff wooden chair outside courtroom 4B. The air smelled of disinfectant, old paper, and nerves. My parents were across the hall, whispering sharply in Spanish. Elena sat between them, staring at the floor, her leg bouncing like a metronome. She wouldn't look at me. When the clerk called the case, we walked inside. The judge, a woman with piercing eyes and a voice like stone, scanned the documents before focusing on Elena. Miss Reyes, she said, you are here to enter a plea today. Elena's nod was almost imperceptible. Please read your written statement aloud. I didn't look away. I needed to hear every word. Elena's hands trembled as she unfolded the paper. I, Elena Reyes, admit that I took my sister's vehicle without permission. I knew it was not mine. I took it anyway, assuming she would forgive me. What I did was wrong. I am sorry. For the first time, she sounded like an adult, not a child shielded by excuses. The judge nodded. Let the record show a guilty plea. I felt my pulse thrum in my throat. Given the circumstances, the court sentences the defendant to 6 months probation, a 1-year suspension of her license, and restitution for impound fees. The gavel struck. My parents gasped audibly. My mother's hand flew to her mouth, my father tensed like he'd been hit. What stunned me most wasn't their shock, it was how quickly they moved to protect Elena, shielding her from consequences even as they finally arrived. They didn't glance at me once. As the courtroom emptied, I stood still. Elena passed me, face red, eyes puffy. She hesitated, about to speak, but my mother's hand nudged her forward. Not now, my mother whispered. Don't make it worse. Me, made out to be the threat. The problem. When the doors closed behind them, a weight inside me settled, not a lightness, but a steadiness. I wasn't trembling. I wasn't angry. I felt anchored, like the part of me that had spent decades apologizing for existing had finally exhaled. Outside, Denver's sky hung low and gray. I walked to my car, the same one that had been stolen and trashed, and ran my fingers along the wheel. Mine. For the first time in years, it felt fully mine. Not just the car, but my life, my voice, my boundaries. That day, I didn't celebrate. I didn't mourn. I simply reclaimed. My parents had walked away, but I had walked back to myself. Driving home slowly, silence wrapped around me like a shield, marking every mile as the distance between the person I had been and the person I was becoming. At my apartment, the air felt different, like stepping into a room freshly cleaned. I placed the courtroom papers on the counter, made tea, and sat by the window. For the first time, I wasn't holding my life together, I was living it. A small voice whispered in my chest, this wasn't the destruction of family. It was my freedom beginning. In the following weeks, the noise faded. Relatives stopped calling. Guilt quieted. For the first time, life didn't feel like a battlefield I had to brace against alone. I moved to a new apartment near the foothills, where the air was lighter. I changed my number, keeping only contacts who respected me. My days found a calm rhythm, quiet mornings, long walks, evenings filled with silence that asked nothing of me. Thursdays, I attended a small support group on boundaries and healing. The first time I shared, my voice shook, but the room didn't shrink from my story. They understood. Slowly, something inside me eased. I had my car back. But more importantly, I had myself. One afternoon, sitting behind the wheel with the mountains in view, a simple realization washed over me: justice hadn't destroyed my family. It had restored me. A year later, a plain envelope arrived, handwriting unmistakable, Elena. Inside, a short letter. No pleas for forgiveness, no blame. She wrote of therapy, learning responsibility, learning how to live without taking from others. She ended with, I know I hurt you. I'm trying to be better. I folded the letter once, slid it into a drawer, and didn't rush to reply. Some stories don't need reunions for closure. Sometimes, acknowledgement is enough. That evening, locking my car, the steering wheel catching the orange sunset, I felt a quiet truth settle in me: what is mine stays mine. Not out of fear, but because I had learned to protect the person behind the boundaries, me.